Hello, my wisdomers. How are we today? It's Tuesday morning right now in Sydney, Australia, as well. I just did my morning affirmations with Bob Baker on Insight Timer to start my day. Before I start the room, right now it's about 20 degrees. It's going to be cloudy today. Top of 23 degrees with a low of 19, predicting rain. Precipitation 78%, humidity 92%, wind 11 kilometers an hour. For the US, it's going to be 68 Fahrenheit, top of 73 Fahrenheit, a low of 66 Fahrenheit. Precipitation 78%, humidity 92%, wind 7 miles per hour for my US audience. You know. And life is going well. And I can see we've got a guest waiting on the stage. Let's see, let's bring you on. All right, hello.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Good, how are you? Welcome back.
Yeah, more. Thank you for the very, very warm welcome. All right. Well, how have you been?
Yeah, been good. What about yourself?
I've been pretty decent, man. I can't complain. I'm breathing over here, so that's always a good upside, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's this thing going on in the Ukraine with Vladimir Putin, and the Prime Minister's thinking about sending Australian troops, and Joe Biden's sending US troops, and I think there's going to be a war.
Okay. Well, I actually have a few articles that I'm going to read to you regarding that particular instance. Okay, and then we can decide
Uh-huh.
whether it's a war or not.
Uh-huh.
All right. So it starts with this. The title of the article is called "Biden Agrees to Putin Summit, Provided Russia Pulls Back from Ukraine Attack." As the
Uh-huh.
United States warned of an imminent Russian invasion of neighboring Ukraine, President Biden agreed in principle to meet his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, provided that Russia pulls back from the potential attack of its smaller neighbor. President Biden's decision came during a discussion with French President Emmanuel Macron, who made made a flurry of calls seeking diplomatic solution to the crisis. In the call with his American counterpart, with Mr. Macron proposed a summit between President Biden and Putin, and then meeting with other governments on a security and strategic stability in Europe. The French president's office said that in a statement. Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Biden and Mr. Putin have accepted the principle of such a summit, Mr. Macron office said, which is reassuring. The White House confirmed that President Biden had accepted in principle a meeting with President Putin, provided that Russia doesn't invade the Ukraine. "Quote unquote, we are always ready for diplomacy," Press Secretary Jen Psaki said in a statement. "We are also ready to impose a swift and severe consequence should Russia choose war. And currently, Russia appears to be continuing preparations for a full-scale assault on the Ukraine very soon," end quote. Another White House official stressed that the summit would only happen if Russia doesn't invade Ukraine, and that a meeting between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Russian counterpart, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, would come first. The official said that at the timing, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The official said that the timing and the format of any summit are yet to be determined, calling it a completely notional. It will be discussed more by Mr. Blinken and Mr. Lavrov if the invasion hasn't started by the scheduled meeting, according to a White House official. Interesting. Well, let's see exactly how that goes, Stephen. Let's
Mhm.
see how that goes, that summit. But you heard
What
the speculation.
article is that from?
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal,
Oh, is that a left wing or a right wing media?
right wing.
That's interesting because the Sydney Morning Herald saying, you know, yeah, I got to read more into it. It's quite interesting. I mean, Fox News. If you listen to Fox News, they're going on about Biden's, you know, going to want to start a war.
Yes, and there's another article said that Putin says Russia to recognize independence of breakaway regions in the Ukraine.
Uh-huh.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said that he would recognize the independence of two Russian-led breakaway regions of Ukraine, a move that threatened to shuttle negotiations with the West over the future security of Eastern Europe, and that could be used to justify an incursion to the territories. "Quote unquote, the situation in Donetsk is becoming critical," Mr. Putin said in a live televised address before launching into a lengthy examination of the relationship between the two countries and the Donbas region, where the two breakaway regions are located. "Quote unquote, Ukraine is not just a neighbor, it is an inherent part of our own history, culture, and spiritual space," he said. Mr. Putin said the Russian government will draft and sign the document recognizing the independence of the two breakaway states in the near future, and said Russia would sign mutual assistance treaties with them. Before the address, Mr. Putin called French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and told them of this decision, the Kremlin said in a statement. The European leaders expressed their disappointment with this development, but indicated their readiness to continue contact, the Kremlin said. The decision to recognize the self-proclaimed Republic Don... Oh my goodness, I cannot pronounce any of these names for the life of me. uh, yeah, these are really interesting names. Anyways, these individuals, three of these individuals, asked the United Nations Security Council for an urgent meeting to tackle the threat of a Russian invasion. The Ukraine's foreign minister, a name that I cannot pronounce, said that he made the request Monday after a substantial escalation in military activity between the Russian-backed forces and the word that I cannot pronounce government troops. Deciding to recognize the two territories in Donbass would likely grant the Kremlin greater sway over these regions, already proxies of Moscow, and hand Mr. Putin an additional trump card in negotiations in his current standoff with the West over the long-term security of Eastern Europe. A White House official said on Monday that President Biden was meeting with his national security team at the White House and was getting regular briefings on the situation with Russia and Ukraine. Tensions have been steadily rising across the region, despite signs that diplomatic initiatives have been making tentative progress. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has proposed a meeting with the name I cannot pronounce, his Russian counterpart, this week in Europe that could lead to a summit between President Biden and Putin. On Sunday, a move brokered in part by Mr. Macron, Mr. Biden agreed in principle to meet the Kremlin leader, provided that Russia pulls back from the potential attack on Ukraine. So clearly, the U.S. has something that Ukraine wants, and
Mhm.
Ukraine has something that Russia wants, and that's what I'm getting. And if I'm reading between the lines here, because the only
Mhm.
reason that they would even open talks or perhaps a summit is that because summits are made for negotiating. Let's be honest;
Mhm.
they're made mostly for negotiating and talking about tariffs, taxes, imports, exports, goods, services, diplomacy, and how much money they can make from it, profiting margin as well. So
Shit.
if this summit does go through, which seems like it's holding in a threshold, it seems to me like Vladimir Putin has quite a decision to weigh in on.
Mhm.
So, but it also sounds like the U.S. doesn't have any other strategies except to broker a a summit. They're like, look, if you don't invade, we'll open up a summit, but we can't
Mhm.
guarantee you we'll actually negotiate anything. We're just trying to get you to stand down, man.
Mhm.
But why? My question is, why are we so concerned Why is the U.S. so concerned about the Ukraine? What
I think
what
it's
what does the Ukraine have?
something to do with the border or China relations. I think and Vladimir Putin. I don't know why the US is concerned about the Ukraine. To be honest with you.
And that should be something you should ask, to look in between lines, something you should be curious about, because for these kind of tensions to rise, clearly there's something going on behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, there's a bigger reason as to why he's trying to conquer this land. Putin, to be specific, there's a bigger reason as to why we're sending in our forces, and like you mentioned, they're sending in forces from Australia as well. Clearly, there's something going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You just won't know. At least
Yeah.
that is until hell breaks loose virtually. So with this kind of situation, only time will tell. I personally think it would be stupid for him to invade, but apparently, from what it seems, Putin has been trying to conquer this land for quite some time. But why, out of all times, is he deciding to do it now? And why is it? And if he really wanted to invade, why is he taking so long to invade? Like, I didn't know that you had to send an advance notice saying that you want to invade.
Yeah, it's all to do with politics.
Yeah, diplomacy. I understand.
You know,
That's
it's
like
all
submitting a 2 weeks
politics.
notice. Hey, I'm gonna send in a 2 weeks notice to let you know that I'm going to invade. Thanks. KK. Bye.
Yeah, it's all politics.
Yeah, which makes me think the issue isn't as big as media is making it to be.
I know. What do
But
we do?
what do? We
Yeah.
honestly, we get closer with each other. We understand. We need to educate ourselves about politics and diplomacy before we decide to spout about random things.
Mm.
Because, of course, this is going to cause some form of division, and people will have their own views. Educate one another. Don't discourage each other. Learn
Mm-hmm.
something about this experience. We're living through history right now as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
You are a historian. I am a historian. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So just remember that.
Well, see, there was the war on terror for years and years and years before I was born. Well, it goes back to 9/11. Anyway, and now what's this war going to be?
What is it going to be over?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's glaringly obvious. They're clearly arguing about land and of course, power. It's just a power grab, essentially.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
And it's not more so arguing because I guess they're not entirely throwing diplomacy out of the window, considering that he recently recognized two independent parts of the Ukraine as independent. But it's
Mm.
like you're recognizing these parts of Ukraine as independent, but you want to invade another part of the Ukraine. Like, what's your what the heck is this guy's prerogative here? Is he doing that for diplomacy as well? So he looks good while he's invading. He's like, well, I don't hate them all. I just hate some of them.
No, I think it's that. It's all politics.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I keep updated. I keep reading the Sydney Morning Herald over it, and it could just be like stirring up trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's a lot of it's media as well.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. Yeah, media has a huge influence in spinning a story because here's the thing: with the way media works, it's the story. The situation is probably not as bad as they are making it out to be because there's a little bit of extra flavor that the media likes to add to this kind of stuff. That's why you should be weary of the media sources that you read from, and the publication sources as well. But I'm not here to tell you or criticize anybody for what they do and where they get their information. Just
Mm.
know that time will only tell.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, I like I said, I listen to Fox News when I can.
Mhm.
Uh, I tried to read the New York Times, but I couldn't understand it.
You couldn't understand the New York Times?
Yeah, I just found it was hard to read.
Oh, is it because of just the way they word things?
Yeah, because well, they're on the left, but it doesn't matter. The BBC, I've had a hard time with the BBC. I haven't tried the Wall Street Journal. Is the Wall Street Journal more finances, by the sounds of it?
Uh well, they have a finance area. Like vast. I mean, they're all publication sources at the end of the day, and some of them speak in favor of course, specific parties and specific um, ideological and diplomatic issues as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all very intellectual publication sources. I will say the New York Times has a way about how they word things. They use a lot of bigger words for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the BBC, I guess I would say the same, because here's the thing: their reach is really huge. They reach a lot of people, so they want to make sure that they're, of course, putting something out there. Um, because it's what's the word that I can use here? I can't even think of it. Long story short, they have a lot of reach, and of course, they have a lot of eyes watching them, and they have to be very, very careful with what they say and how they say it. But then again, you have platforms like CNN.
Oh, they drive me nuts. I hate that.
Yeah, um, I think I personally feel as though CNN likes to exaggerate life situations or things that happen because of the words that they use as like subtitles and captions, and they just I wouldn't say that they're slanderous, but they're very aggressive.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, when Donald Trump was in as president, all you just heard from CNN, they were just slandering Donald Trump every day, 4 years.
Oh, they hated him.
What is it? Do they hate the right?
Well, they're right. They're a right media form, like so that they're aligned with the right. But
Mm,
party designation aside, they just didn't like the guy.
mm, yeah. No, it's very complicated as well.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. There's a lot more to it than what we even know for ourselves,
Mm,
and that speaks for this situation as well. Yeah. That's why I can't speak about it from an objective standpoint. A politician would, but I can't. I can only speak about it from a subjective standpoint, which is the premise
mm,
of this show, right? Is to have a subjective viewpoint towards a specific situation. And as tensions continue to rise, of course, we need to educate one another and be there for each other, of course, like you and I are for each other in this kind of conversation. You open this stage so we can have an expansive discussion. And for that, I am
mm.
humbly appreciative.
No, this is awesome. But how long is this tension going to last for in the Ukraine? In Ukraine.
That's well, the tension will last as long as they want it to happen.
Hmm.
It's as much as I can say.
Yeah. We've got a former SAS soldier, Ben Robert Smith, is on trial for war crime in Afghanistan.
What was a war crime?
It was captured. What is it? Taliban, and then they do these rituals. You got to read it. But yeah, it's going to court. This was going back to 2006.
Wait, so is this a recent acquisition? Is this something that recently happened to him? But this is based on something that happened many years ago.
Yeah, and he won the Victoria Cross when they give that medal of bravery.
But he's going to jail for a war crime he committed.
No, he's on trial.
Oh, he's. I would only assume that he's going to receive some sentencing.
Yeah, well, he had to sue. He had to sue the Sydney Morning Herald and the Age for defamation. Apparently, his ex-wife was writing like slandering him. Now,
How?
I had a chat. I had a chat with my friend. A former SAS soldier. That's very hard to get into, by the way. Now, if he's guilty of war crime, it'll damage his reputation. He'll have to hand his medals back in.
Yeah, that is if he is found guilty.
Now, former SAS soldiers who remain anonymous, of course. What do they call it? When they take the stand, Malcolm, it's
When they take the stand,
yeah, in the
testify.
court. Yeah, testifying against him. But how can you prove this stuff?
How do you prove it? Well, you have to prove with evidence beyond reasonable doubt.
Mm,
That's kind of the whole process of due process. The way due process works is you're innocent until proven guilty.
mm,
And that's just the overall premise of it. And of course, if there's evidence beyond reasonable doubt that suggests that he committed this act, then the court proceedings will go accordingly. But then again, he can also be tried against a jury of his peers, and they can judge him accordingly because the jury can decide the verdict when it comes to this kind of thing. So it honestly depends. The way this will go, it will be dependent on if there's enough evidence to suggest that he was guilty of this crime beyond reasonable doubt, or if the verdict believes that he was guilty, and there's an overwhelming vote of guilty verdicts,
mm-hmm,
and on how many accounts, or if he orchestrated anything else.
mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's quite sad for that to happen. Um, Again, these are allegations in the media, but until the jury says he's guilty, well, we don't know. I mean, yeah, it's quite messy.
We'll have to keep us updated on that verdict,
Yeah,
on what the verdict is.
But the war crimes, it's the Americans were doing war crimes. Even the Australians were doing it too. It was just kept quiet for years.
Well, a lot of the stuff that happens in the military, no, I won't even say the military. Let me be careful with my words here because I'm still an active serving member. A lot of the things that happen in the world are swept under the rug.
Mm. Even Australia too, Malcolm.
I can understand.
But no, it's all kept quiet because they don't want to make Australian look bad. There was former Prime Minister John Howard. He literally said to the media, "Oh, Iraq has weapons of mass destruction." Used to be the Prime Minister of Australia.
They do?
Mm. Yeah, it's a very complicated situation.
I can imagine. I mean, given the nature of their I would say the nature of their government setup or their diplomatic setup.
Mm,
It doesn't surprise me, especially considering that at one point they could get weapons from us, and on
mm,
top of that, because we did have they had a deal brokerage through the U.S. In addition to the fact that they have engineers that can make weapons.
mm, mm. Not good. Not
Well,
good at all.
apparently, if you don't have a weapon of mass destruction as a country, then I guess you look bad. And whenever you go to a summit, no, I'm kidding, but they probably do brag
Mm.
about this stuff. I wonder what does happen at a summit. I'm kind of intrigued or interested, but they're always they're always and forever will remain discreet discussions, confidential discussions.
Well, you got to think the Australian Defence Forces purchased all this military equipment and this nuclear submarine. Did you hear about that? It's probably going to take 10 years to build. That's a lot of money. and we're probably not even going to use it, Malcolm. It's
Who knows?
possum, you know. I mean, it costs a lot of money, especially the American government spent so much taxpayer money on on weapons and all that, and it just goes to waste.
I can understand where you're coming from. We already have enough weapons to take out a whole country. Same thing for those other countries to us as well. They have enough weapons to take us out if they wanted to. My question is why?
Greed.
Yeah. Yeah, it
It's
is.
like Australia as well. I mean, you had New Zealand go to Iraq, Australia, Canada, France, England. God, that's like how many countries just to go to fight one war and partner with the United States over a war that's caused by the United States. I don't get it.
United States would be the last one to go to war with anybody because we always try to establish things with diplomacy. We try to diffuse things with diplomacy. We don't like to go to war. We're too lazy for that. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, you go back to George Washington, the North and the South. It was always found on war. Abraham Lincoln as well.
Wait, say that one more time.
George Washington, the North and the South. This is where war goes back in the U.S.
Well, yes, I was referencing in recent times as far as diplomacy goes. We're more likely to try to settle things with diplomatic talks than we are with going to actual physical war.
But how powerful is Russia?
Very powerful. Let's just keep it at that. They have a lot of sway and influence. I mean, they were the ones that hacked it. They've committed quite a few cyber crimes against us. I'm surprised our administration hasn't done anything about that. But then again, China has as well. It's like these other countries just toy with us, and we let it happen.
It's like China's a very big country.
It is.
Now, if China and Russia were to pair up together, for World War III, this is a theory that I'm creating. This is not fact, by the way. It's quite possible that it'll get very scary and messy. They could create a war with a virus. You know that.
Yeah, they can do a lot of things. They can do a lot of things, but so can we. So we will see how this particular situation with Ukraine and Russia will do, and what will Joe Biden do? Well, right now it doesn't seem like he's It seems like he's trying to soften the blow with talking to him instead. Seems like he's really trying to set up a summit, perhaps, and negotiate how we can continue to groom them.
Yeah, I mean negotiations take time too.
Yeah, they do negotiate. Yeah, they do take time, but they're not even in the negotiating process right now.
You know, but that's politics for you, Malcolm.
Oh, of course, undoubtedly. So, like I said, only time will tell when it comes to this particular circumstance. So, we just have to we have to definitely inform one another instead of discourage each other. We should stop trying to divide too much. It's too much tyranny in this world. Enough. I mean, at least try to have a decent conversation and reach some dialogue, build connections from there. Is that a bird?
Enjoy. Yeah, it was a bird.
That's a rare bird. It sounds like what kind of? Do you know what kind of bird that was?
Nah, just a bird.
It's a really interesting sounding
Noticing.
bird.
I've been noticing. I've been seeing a lot of crows lately.
In like where you live?
Yeah, crows. You know what crows are?
Yeah. Interesting.
That cool. What is that a sign of?
Well, crows feed off of a lot of things. I couldn't honestly tell you it's a sign of. But I will say, I mean, is it cold where you are, or is it warm?
It's warm.
Maybe they've migrated.
Oh, I thought it's spirituality or something like that.
These are just my thoughts on what it is. Because where I am in the East Coast, it's warmest. It's very. I wonder how long birds can fly for before they get tired. Can they fly for days?
No, not days. They gotta stop and rest.
So, like, if they migrate to somewhere, like, how far can they migrate for?
Don't know.
These are questions I'm curious about. I get curious about the most smallest of things. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just thought they could fly endlessly. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but that's what I've been seeing. A lot of crows.
Interesting. And you should look into that and then become more paranoid after you find out it's about something else. No, I'm kidding. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about.
It could be. I don't know either.
The world may never know. But on that note, I do appreciate you having me here on the stage, man. You had a great discussion here. I think you could have another person chime in, maybe, who knows. But as far as that goes, I look forward to more discussions with you. You always start a very, very, very interesting conversations on here. So I admire you for that in that aspect. But yeah, man, you take care, all right?
You too, Malcolm. Take care. Have a good afternoon. All right, that was Malcolm. That was a great talk about the situation with Vladimir Putin in Ukraine over land at the moment. It seems to be getting very messy and complicated. The issue that I have is it seems to be getting political football at the moment. You know, why is this problem with Ukraine getting political football? It's weird, isn't it? Political football. How far is political football going to get? But it's quite possible that, World War III is on the rise for some reason. You know that. Now, why is that? You know, what is going on at the moment with Ukraine? And, and that is weird, isn't it? And how can we overcome these issues? On tensions with Ukraine, Russia, China as well. But I want to know, why this is going on and how we can solve these problems too. I've been noticing a lot of cancel culture going on in media now at the moment. And it's crazy, 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 crazy stuff. What media, well, influence a media company, social media, etc., 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 can have on your life. You know, I suppose it's. I mean, every day is a new day, no matter how, you know, difficult life will get. I suppose it's, you know, sometimes in life we've got to make difficult decisions. Obviously, we've got a trend happening at the moment called cancel culture, where it's like, well, if, you know, we don't agree with you, then you're not going to be heard. And it's quite sad, but life is always changing, you know that. Life is always changing at the moment. I find that, you know, I just want to keep on persisting as well. You know, and looking at ways that I can make a positive impact in this world and change. But yeah, definitely it's become political football with Ukraine and Joe Biden with NATO troops at the moment. So who knows where this will play out? Who knows what is going to happen? You know that. And who knows where things will be in the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know. You know, with this flight MH370 as well. No one seems to have a decent answer to solve this mystery. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. But I want to say thank you to all my listeners today on Wisdom. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the Stephen Shields Radio Show and turn on your notifications so you don't miss an episode every Friday at 6 p.m. Sydney, Australia time. And I'll see you later.